earliest musical memories. I remember, you know, my grandmother would watch Lawrence Welk show, and there was a show, a country show called Hee Haw, and in between Hee Haw, Lawrence Welk, and going to church, I just began to hear this music that started to move me, and I remember sitting in church, and I was like, wow, this music is it's haunting, but it's powerful and it's beautiful. So something about it, I'm afraid, but I think I want to be a part of it even deeper. And so from there, I just started saying, I'm going to be famous singing. I'm going to be famous singing. And I remember just saying that all the time. And I heard Michael Jackson's Ben for the very first time. And it was such the sweetest song. And so I fell in love with that. And I would listen to it over and over again. And then I had Natalie Cole, Our Love. I could have sworn we were going together. She was my girlfriend. And so, you know, it just put me in that world of music. And I listened. I don't even think people were listening to music the way I listened to music. I felt like I had a different set of ears.
And so when did you first, you know, realize like how great at singing you were? When was the first time someone was like, oh, you know what, you're very good at singing, you should probably look into doing this professionally?
It wasn't until I started with these little groups. I was in music class, and I always, you know, I would get asked to lead a lot. But it wasn't until I got a music class, and there was a girlfriend who really, really complimented me. And I was like, okay, maybe I do have something. Maybe this is something special. And I just started paying more attention. And then I started meeting other guys who had nice voices. We formed these little groups, and we would sing Stevie Wonder's, I just called to say how much I love you. I just called to say how much I care. I do. So we would harmonize that. I just called, I just called, I just called. And we would do that, man, and everybody would surround us. And we were like, man, we're going to do it. But two of the other guys became pastors, and, you know, they let go of the, they let go of the dream. Yeah, they let it go. But they're proud of me. I've seen them since.
And so what, you know, so were you guys gonna be aiming to break through as a group, you know, initially? Like, were you pretty ambitious? Like, were you all like very serious about it? So was it a major thing when they left?
Yeah, when they left, you know, I thought maybe they're just taking a moment, and maybe they'll change around and get a little older and realize, like, man, could be a great thing. But they never turned back from the church. And me being a church guy, church boy, that was very important for me not to sing music that would be degrading to God and to my belief and to my family. So I kept the dream alive and continued, and found more guys to harmonize with, and more songs. And I just started trying to put myself in places where people had influence. So somebody would tell somebody else about my voice, and then this person will lead me to another person. And ultimately that's what happened.
And so, like, at a certain point you moved to New York, right? And you made this, and you made, if I'm right, you made this album, and you know, XTC.
Let's see, alarm. Sorry about that. Somebody's coming in the house.
No worries.
If it don't go off, then call the cops. I think it's yeah, my brother's probably come home. But so you said go back.
So you moved to New York, and you signed to Uptown Records, right? And
Mm-hmm.
made a debut album, but then did it nearly not come out or something like that? That must have been quite frustrating.
No, I was, you know, beating the streets. I moved from Charlotte, North Carolina, up to New York to go for this big dream, because I had exhausted all the possibilities here. I met a guy named Mark Sparks who took me up to meet with Jimmy Jenkins, Andre Harrell at Uptown. We did a showcase at a historical hip-hop studio called D&D. I sang my tail off. I got the deal Andre Harrell outbidded everybody. It was Russell Simmons, Puff, a lot of people were there. And I got this deal. I was opening up for Jodeci, doing the album. It's about to go. It was, D'Angelo was coming out, and we were going to be like rivals. And I remember them saying that Uptown MCA is folding. So the album, the Ecstasy album, we don't know what's going to happen to it. He's going to try to get you to go with him to Sony or wherever else he's going. But MCA wouldn't let me go. So I was left there to go straight directly to MCA. And the thing about when you inherit it, people don't tend to, some people, whether it be ego or whatever, that's preoccupied with whatever they're preoccupied with, they didn't see that it was special enough to them because they had their other projects. They didn't have all the writing credit, production credits, so nobody really took it in and made it special. So eventually I wanted to get off.
And so after making that first record, it was quite a while before you followed it up, right?
Yeah, I was bouncing around a few different record deals. From MCA, I went back to Andre Harrell, who had Harrell Entertainment. He was doing a deal with Tommy Mottola at the time. And I remember going to the studio to speak to him, and he came by the studio with Mariah Carey. I remember this. And after a few months of that, back and forth trying to get this deal, I guess him and Tommy Mottola didn't see eye to eye. And I was then, sitting there waiting for the right deal. So this is my second failed deal, almost third. But Mark Sparks came back around. He had been working. He had gotten a relationship with Atlantic Records. They had Sunshine Anderson, and She Was Bubbling, had the #1 song in the country. So he brought me out some kind of way. They brought me out from Andre Harrell, took me to Soul Life Atlantic. I started working on a new album, which was Soul Life and Southern Comfort. Those songs I was creating then. And then while she was working, I was like, hey, I got a call from D'Angelo to say, can you go on tour to sing backgrounds with me? And at this moment, I was like, okay, I can continue to do this album, or I can go on the road with this amazing guy who has this extremely high voltage buzz going on right now. And he had Questlove, he had Roy Hargrove, and all these amazing musicians that were surrounded around him. And everyone was looking at him. I felt like I needed to be in that light. I felt like I needed to learn what it was that he was doing, the type of musicianship, the type of showmanship that he had. I wanted to have that. I didn't just want to be a studio singer. I wanted to be a performer, like an Al Green, Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, Joe Cocker, and all these amazing people who had this open soul when it came to singing and performing. So my label, I asked them, could I go? And they let me go on tour with D'Angelo for almost a year, and came back in Soul Life. Eventually Soul Life and Atlantic didn't see eye to eye. So that was another deal. So.
But coming from where I'm from, it was when it did come out, it's a really brilliant record. And
thank you.
And I mean, you've got, it's difficult to keep consistency, but I would say throughout every release, I mean, I guess you've spaced out your albums quite well, and you've obviously put some time and heart and soul into making them. But was it quite a relief when coming from where I'm from, kind of?
Absolutely.
Very well.
Absolutely, it was a great relief, man. I felt like right before it, I felt like, man, this is it. This is my last shot. This doesn't work, then I'm going back to the barbershop. I'm going to cut hair and continue listening to music and singing to the radio. But I loved it too much. So I sang at a Grammy brunch. Londell McMillan was there. And this was when Michael Malden, who's Jermaine Dupri's father, he was in the audience. Isaac Hayes introduced me on stage. it's Anthony Hamilton. And I would go on stage and I sing. Actually, it was Coming From Where I'm From. And I sung this song like it was the last breath I had. Like I put everything on it. And nobody could believe that that was my voice at that young age. And so he called Jermaine Dupri right away. They got me off of Atlantic, took me to So Def, Arista, and I've been singing and touring ever since.
Yeah, must have been such a relief. And from the records that you've made, is there a favorite that you've got?
I think Coming From Where I'm From is one of my favorites because it symbolizes so much for me. The struggle, the hard work, the tears, the loss. Those moments riding the train and sleeping in the studio on the floor and getting locked out and us breaking back in to sleep on the floor because this is all we had. It symbolizes all that I went through and how victorious I became through it all. So that song, that whole album is pretty special. How many people were there to kind of, I don't know, just kind of invest in it in a way. Jimmy Iovine bought 4 songs and never charged me a dime. He was interested in me prior to signing to So Def. But yeah, Lucille, China Black, My First Love, and Better Days. He had me in the studio. I created those songs. He's like, you know what? Just keep those as gifts. This is my gift to you.
Wow.
And yeah, and so all those different people, Mark Batson, all these amazing people who put energy in, around this album and my hard work. And I think it was the right time for people to have an album like that. I think people were a little tired of just the monotony and heartless music. This music came through with spirit and soul, pain and grit and happiness. It was a well-rounded album. So it left no stone unturned when it came to emotions.
Yeah, no, it definitely didn't. And so like recently you've just brought out a new single with Rick James. How did that collaboration about that? Like that, when I first heard that, I was like, wait a minute.
Well,
is that Rick James as in Super Freak and all those classics? I was like,
oh yeah, that's the same Rick James. It's Rick James. I'm Rick James.
So cool.
In the studio, we're in the studio with Ninth Wonder, who's an amazing visionary and producer. And we had done songs. We had been in there quite a long time, and we had gotten 3 songs. So I remember it was Rhapsody, me, Ninth Wonder, and Eddie Kane. We were all in there, Heather Victoria. And we had done 3 songs, and it was time to go home. It was 2:30. We had a little fun, and it's time to go home. So Ninth Wonder, being the guy that he is, he just can't stop. He starts to play this music that sounded like Fire and Desire by Rick James and Tina Marie. I was like, I put my backpack down. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going. I went exactly, I didn't say anything to anybody. I went into the booth and I started to sing, it was hard from the start. And I knew you never, Rick James' voice fell in, leave them so much for giving you my heart. And I was like, you know what? I said, I want Rick James to be featured on this song, not just a sample, not just slightly paying my respects and homage to such a great pioneer. I want him to be featured. I want it to say featured. I want his likeness in the video, on the art, and his family, his daughter. She made sure that we had access to do that with the estate and everybody involved. And I was over the moon with it.
So cool. Yeah, that's yeah, really awesome. Something that brought your music back to my attention was your appearance on Tiny Desk, which went down so well. How was that experience?
You know, Tiny Desk was very, very new to me. It was kind of strange in a way, but kind of freeing. Almost like being home performing for your closest friends and relatives. So most entertainers, when it comes to smaller groups, you either love it or you don't. You're either better on big stages or you're better in small stages. And some people can do both. I've learned to do both. But in the beginning, I was like, man, I don't know how. This just us. There's no real mic, really. Just the room, the sound, and the people staring at you in this office setting. And so there was no time for error. It just, you had to let it bleed out. And we had fun. We made it fun. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna take it too serious. I'm gonna make sure just the first couple notes, see where my voice is, and then let it all just rip. And it was actually well received, and I was pretty happy with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, rightly so. And did you feel like that brought you to some new fans and a new audience? Because it's become quite a kind of institution, really, Tiny Desk, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It's taken off quite tremendously. And yes, it opened me up to a whole new demographic. There were people in there that didn't look nothing like me, but who could appreciate that good music. And they told somebody else and they told this person. And so with Tiny Desk and the Dave Chappelle show, it really opened my audience. It broadened it like worldwide. And I'm forever grateful. And I'll do another Tiny Desk again and again.
I'm sure they'd have you back. And so obviously you've got a number of Grammy nominations and stuff. And like
18.
18.
Yes.
Gosh. I didn't even know it was that many. I knew it was several. Wow, that's
18, and I won one.
And that was with Al Green, right?
Yes, thank God it was with Al Green. I'd rather it be with Al Green than by myself.
I mean, that's pretty cool. Is that one of the last? I think it is. Is that the last studio album Al Green's made?
Yes, it is the last studio album Al Green made, and it was produced by James Poyser and Questlove and all these amazing guys, Rich and yeah, they did a really great job. Had John Legend, Corinne Bailey Ray was on the album as well. Just a great body of work.
You featured on 2 tracks.
Yeah, co-wrote 2 tracks and sang on them both. And what was so cool, man, we went back. Huh?
And you wrote them, yeah, of course.
Yeah, co-wrote. Well, what was so cool about it, like, I always wanted to get in the music business because of the old way they did songs. Like being in the studio together and singing along with the music. We had that experience. Al Green had his mic here, and I'm over here on my mic, and I'm like, I can't believe I never asked for a picture or anything. I was like, I do not want to make him uncomfortable. This is bigger than a picture or autograph. And so I wish I had got one, but I'm gonna get it. I want to get it.
Well, now that you've won a Grammy together.
Yeah. So I want to get that picture. I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna go to Memphis and I'm gonna find you, Mr. Green. But yeah, it was incredible, man. I was really, really shocked to hear the Grammy.
It's so cool as well that the way that you the way that you recorded it like that, because that's becoming more and more unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a dinosaur now. So, when you can get in, collaborate from a pure music to music, musician to musician experience, I advise people to take it and do it. Fly in. I know with COVID now, things will be a little difficult, but it's so important to have that experience, man. It's a different energy you connect with when you sing it that way.
Do you feel like something's lost a little bit with all the kind of remote sessions and things that are becoming so prevalent now in the music industry?
Yeah, you can't really feel the energy, like say if I created a song, there's an energy behind that I had that you should be a part of immediately, because that's when it's magical. And when all that magical dust starts to float around in the room, you should be in it, and vice versa. And so now things sound, it sounds good, but it sounds sterile, almost kind of put together. So I'd vote for doing it at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it just all the evidence points that way towards the kind of records that were all made together in the room, and almost like the more gear that you've got as well.
Yeah,
seems like a lot of those early records, whether it was like Wrecking Crew or Motown or Stax or whatever it was, those guys had much fewer technological resources.
Yeah.
And they still made magic happen. So
it was all about pure talent and soul and just passion. I think passion, you don't have that crutch when you're just fully floating on passion and your ability to just create. You have to dig in and let it be what it's going to be. And that's what the magic was. The sweat and tears and the hours in the studio without that good air conditioning. A little cigarette. I'm sure they had a little cigarette smoke back in the day. But all that stuff, all that made it special.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And so my final question for you is, you've got some songs like Best of Me and Charlene and Can't Let Go and stuff that are obvious ones, and so do choose them if they're like if you've got to choose them. But are there a couple of songs that you'd highlight from your career so far that you're particularly proud of, and especially if they're like deeper cuts or things that people might not have heard before? Absolutely.
Life Has a Way. It's an amazing song, man. It's upright bass. It's just a beautiful record, and it's take a look over your shoulders. Wise words get much older. Life has a way of humbling you down. Thought you already knew it. Took a turn, then you blew it. Life has a way of humbling you down. So I thought I already knew everything. So I thought there wasn't room to grow everything. Oh, life humbles you down. It's just a real spacious boom, 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 boom. Just upright bass and just sparse instruments, man. It's one of my favorite songs. It's a song to make you reflect and to realize, like, you have to humble yourself before nature, before God, before anything that's been here before you. And if you don't, life will do it for you. And it's just a reminder to keep in your place.
Wow.
But it's a beautiful record.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I've got to say, I've had we've interviewed some legendary artists that I'm a huge fan of. But whenever anybody's tried singing in an interview one of their songs, they've never sung it like that. So
oh wow, thank you, man. Thank you.
That's amazing. You've got a real gift. Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it, man. And
thank you.
Take care. I hope you're able to get back to performing and stuff as soon as coronavirus pisses off.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and everybody who will be a part of this. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Take care.
Ciao.